This show, we've got questions about hiring stylists with experience, giving cell phone numbers to our guests, what's the deal with all these rental salons, and I talk a little bit about some new videos that I'm doing. You supply the Q's and we bring the A's. It's the Form and Function Q&A show. Before we get into the questions, I wanted to just give a little bit of a heads up on some new videos that we're doing. I know for many, they follow Form and Function and me personally to get some ideas on branding, especially with social media stuff. I certainly have loved it. We have loved it in our salon and have had great success with it. You will start to see some more videos coming out in our social engineering program. All right, so we put out a few more this week. There's those. So you can check those out. We're also going to be kind of breaking up the F&F Q&A show. I want to actually be able to go a little bit longer on some questions, and I know that it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes to sit through a 10 or 12 minute video. So we're still going to be doing a long format, F&F Q&A, but then we're also going to start putting out F&F Q&A singles. And so it should be easier for people to search in terms of finding an answer for one as opposed to having to sit through a whole episode. But I still like the longer format. So if you like sitting through the longer episode, that's still here for you. So with that said, let's get into the questions. Olivia asks, what would be your advice on hiring an experienced stylist who moved to the area and has no clientele? How do you get them on the same page with your salon culture when they don't necessarily need to go through an assistant program? Olivia, thank you for this question, and thanks for participating on our Instagram page. The way that Olivia asks this question is she follows us at FF Salon EDU on Instagram, and just about every week we ask for questions for the show. So, Olivia, I really appreciate you doing that. In terms of these questions, first, advice on hiring. My advice on hiring, whether it's somebody coming out of school or relocating, would be just the same, right? You should be following the same hiring processes, whatever that is for you. For us, the way that we go about doing it is 3 interviews, right? First interview is we're just going to sit down and talk, and I want to find out who the person is, what their goals are, and really get an idea for who they are, right? Because we need that company culture. Number 2 is going to be a talent interview where I want to see some work, right? It doesn't have to be a full makeover or anything like that, but I want to see them move through hair and really get an idea of their skill level. And then the third is going to be a shadow day. And maybe I'm actually thinking that I kind of want to expand that to do multiple days, right? Let them see a Saturday, but then they also need to come and see a Tuesday or Wednesday when it's not slammed. But through that series of interviews, I feel like I get a pretty good understanding of who the person is and does that fit with what we're doing at Hair Loft and Form and Function. So that process to me does not change whether it's somebody coming out of school or somebody relocating. The second part of the question, in terms of them going through a training program, this is something that comes up a lot in our industry, and I don't totally understand it, because if we took a step out and looked at big business, right? Anytime somebody switches companies, they are going to go through some sort of new training, right? Like, even like retail. Let's take retail. If somebody works at the Apple Store and then they go to Best Buy, they're selling the same, if not similar, products, but they're still going to go through a training. All right. So I think that in our salons, if we think about our training as we have our technical, and then we have our experience and our culture. Okay. So depending on how strong technically the salon is, maybe that means then that the stylist is going to come in and maybe they can test out of the technical stuff, right? Unless you are really dedicated to a system and say, everybody here uses this cutting system or this color system, right? That maybe they could test out of the technicals. But on the other side, I think that that's where you need to focus some training for them, regardless of where they're coming from. What is the culture here? What is the systems that we use Even simple things like answering the phone or how we greet a guest, how we do a shampoo, right? Because that is you guys. The technical stuff may be able to transcend location, but this side is what makes it yours, makes it your salon. So I would say, regardless of where they're coming from, at least train them on that stuff and get them on the same page so that they are still going through some training, and that should bring the team a little bit more cohesiveness in terms of what everybody's doing. Peggy wants to know what is appropriate as far as stylists offering clients their cell number. Having worked in this business a long time, once upon a time that would not be acceptable. Peggy, this is a great question because certainly technology continues to grow within our lives, our cultures. So I don't know that I have a great answer for this, but I saw in your question, because there was a little bit more context to it, that in your salon you have both rental and employee-based stylists, right? If this is happening with the renters, there's nothing you can do about it. They're supposed to be their own boss and they can handle themselves the way that they want to. If this is happening with employees, maybe if you don't like it, then maybe you need to have a salon policy on, that's not what we do. That being said, the walls of communication have been broken down. If they don't have their cell phone number, they'll find them on Facebook, they'll find them on Twitter, there's no way to stop communication nowadays. So I don't think it's really that big of an issue. What it ultimately does come down to is what are they doing with those numbers? What are they doing with that communication, right? Is it that they're promoting doing services outside the salon? Because that's not appropriate. Having a cell phone number, that doesn't mean that's what's happening. Maybe they want to text a stylist to make a reservation, as opposed to calling the front desk, right? So ultimately, it comes down to what are they doing with it, and if it bothers you, then you should probably try and make some sort of policy, but I don't think that you can stop communication in today's world. Julie wants to know, why do you think there are more and more booth rental salons out there? Julie, this is such an on-point question right now. And first, before we dive into why, we need to understand that the rental model is nothing new, right? The rental games, studios, suites, lofts, whatever people want to call them now, they've been around forever. There's nothing new about the concept. They've been a part of our industry for a long time. They are certainly getting more popular, though. So why? The first reason is, in all seriousness, there's an oversupply of stylists for the amount of demand for services. Okay? So I think that you're seeing many, many more people having to take control of their own fate, their own destiny, and go out there and do it on their own, right? Because salons oftentimes don't even have enough demand to fulfill the supply of stylists that they currently have, right? Fewer and fewer people are booked solid all the time. And so because of that, people don't get the opportunity to work in employee-based salons, and so they have to go out and rent space in order to even be able to try to have the career that they want to have. Now, the other reason that I really think that rental salons are growing is because of the fact that most salon owners aren't good owners. They're not focused on the business and the marketing and the programs and the systems to the point where they're able to grow the business fully for everybody there, right? Most owners are stylists, and so they're working on guests, one at a time or two at a time or three at a time, just the same way that the other employees are. And so I think that does sometimes become a challenge, because when you are not providing, I feel like owners need to earn their part of the commission just the same way that employees do, right? Because what ends up happening is when a stylist is making, whatever, we'll say 50-50, just for the sake of this discussion. When they're making 50% commission on their services, they in turn are going to look at that other 50% and say, well, where's it going? Or what are you doing for it, right? I had to do this haircut in order to get the 50% commission, but what is the owner doing? And I know that as an owner, and I don't know if you're an owner, But as the owner, we can look at our expenses, right? We can say, well, here's what we spent on rent, here's what we spent on electricity, here was our water bill, here's what it costs for, our website, blah, 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 right? We can ring off the whole list of stuff. But the expenses is only one aspect of it, right? You have to be, as owners have to be showing that they are dedicated to their team so that the team is dedicated to the owner, right? Empathy and or loyalty is a two-way street, right? So I think that the real reason that you're seeing so many people move out of employee-based salons and into the rental model is because most owners aren't showing how difficult it is to build that business, to support people, because they're not. And so, honestly, if there are owners listening to this and you want to try and stop the rental trend, the answer is not to get upset about it. It's to look and see what are they saying is so attractive, right? Flexible hours, right? Work when you want to. Make more money, right? Now, flexible hours, I don't know why anybody wants the opportunity to do a haircut at 11:30 at night. That sounds really dumb to me. More money? Well, they're not really going to make more money because now they are going to have to start covering all those costs. So I just think that owners need to do a better job of supporting the team and focusing on the business, the systems, the education, and all the programs that go into running it successfully so that then we have less people switching out of salons. All right. So if you're an owner and you want to stop the rental game, focus on the team and not just your chair. So that is it for F&F Q&A 16. As always, you can hit me up at Benjamin J on Twitter or at BNJMNJ on Instagram. We greatly appreciate your questions so that we can keep producing this show and having awesome answers for awesome questions. So until next time, we'll see you then.